Hello. Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hello. If you are returning, thank you so much for sticking around. I really appreciate you. Today, it's gonna be a pivot off of my last video, which was my tattoo tour, just like all about my tattoos, and I'm gonna do a tattoo Q&A. I wanted to keep these into two different videos because I knew that my tattoo tour was gonna take forever, and I know that the Q&A was gonna take forever too, because I can talk about tattoos all day, any day. I love tattoos. And you guys did not disappoint with asking questions. I asked both on Instagram and on my community tab for those of you who don't follow me on Instagram, which, like, go do that. And also for those of you who just don't have Instagram. So yeah, I'm gonna start with the Instagram questions first, and then we will go to the YouTube questions. I said that they could be related to weight loss, or just anything in general, like in terms of tattoos, because honestly, I had already had like a couple big tattoos before I started losing weight, and I did a lot of research, like trying to figure out like what was gonna happen to them. Not that it was gonna really deter me. Also, sorry, my bangs are like on one today, so you're just gonna have to deal with it. Not that it was gonna deter me from losing weight, but like I'd spent a lot of money on my tattoos, and I kind of just wanted to know like what was gonna happen to them. And there wasn't a lot of that, so I'm gonna cover that, and because people asked that question, I already know that. So I'm gonna cover that today, and we're gonna cover a whole bunch of other stuff too. So it's gonna be really fun. I honestly like this setup. It's very chill. I feel comfortable filming here. I dig it. Anyways, let's go to the Instagram questions. So the first tattoo is the most painful tattoo you've gotten. My shin felt like I was being electrocuted through my genitals for 4 hours. So I actually have a shin tattoo, and from what I remember, it wasn't too bad. Like, the areas that hurt the most were like the inside and the outside, so like the inside of my calf and the outside of my calf, because that's just where most of like the shin meat is, so it was a lot more tender. I should also mention, when it comes to pain questions, I have a ridiculously high pain tolerance. I always have. The longest I've ever sat for a tattoo was like 6.5, 7 hours, and that's how long it took me to almost tap out, but I still didn't tap out. So I have a very high pain tolerance. But in terms of the most painful tattoo I've gotten, it is the Snoopy house that's on the inside of my left ankle right here. This guy right here. And I don't know what it is about that spot. I'd imagine it's because there's a bunch of nerve endings there, because my foot also kept like uncontrollably twitching when I was getting it done, and I felt really bad because the tattoo artist had to like hold my foot down with his arm. But yeah, that was probably as a whole the most painful tattoo I've ever gotten, because like the tattoos that I sat for a really long time for, those hurt too, but I think the main reason they hurt is because I sat for a really long time with them. So yeah, but also the wrist area on my flapper girl right here, that also did not feel very good at all. So yeah, the next question is, can they change shape, be distorted, or otherwise damaged once you lose weight? So a tattoo can't really be damaged per se. Like, it can get damaged by the sun, and that's really the only, or like scars or like cuts or something, but like other than that, I can't really think of a way that a tattoo would be like damaged. In terms of weight loss, since this is like a big question, I haven't noticed any warping. I think strategically planned my tattoos, because I think the idea of weight loss was always in the back of my mind, and so I wanted to get them on places that I didn't think would warp too much. So I got them like on the outside of my thigh, on my shin, on my ankles, just like really bony or like muscly areas, not so much fatty areas. And I feel like that helped a lot, because I've seen people who get them like on their upper arms, they get kind of saggy or like wrinkly with the loose skin. Or if they choose to have skin removal surgery, sometimes there'll just be like a seam going up their tattoos, and I'm like, that is so much money just like thrown into medical waste. But yeah, so mine in particular haven't really warped too much. I would say that they just look bigger because they wrap a lot more now. because I have lost weight. So like the one on the outside of my thigh wraps a lot more on the inside and outside of my thigh or my leg. And like the one on my shin also wraps a lot more on the each side of my shin in like almost like calf area. And other than that, they didn't really get too warped. They just look bigger, which is kind of nice because it's like, sweet, bigger tattoo that I didn't have to sit for. Artist recommendations in Denver. Yes, literally all 3 of the tattoo artists that I've gotten tattooed by here. One's Mike Martino. I'll have all of them linked down below. Mike Martino's great. He did Maeve. He did my forearm tattoo. Addison. I can't remember her last name. Let me go look. Hold on. Her name on... I'll put her name right here because I don't want to lose the questions. But her name on Instagram is Call Me Daddy. And it's like Addie because her name's Addison. She's great. She did Venus right here. This was just her like as an apprentice too. And the line work is so good. And then Maddie is also amazing. I will have her link down below, and she did my little diva cupie right here. Do you have a tattoo you regret or wish had been done differently? So I talked about this in my tattoo tour video, and that is that I don't really regret any of my tattoos, and I don't think I'll ever really regret any tattoo at any point, because for me, with every body modification that I get, I definitely just feel more and more like myself and more like the person that I was meant to become. And also, for me, tattoos are really cool chapter markers of life. Even if they're not meaningful, like I can still go back and pinpoint exactly where I was in my life and exactly like even what I did like that day or whatever, because for some reason I think it's just the pain, like your brain just remembers a lot more surrounding a tattoo. And so for me, they're just really cool chapter markers. So I don't really regret any of my tattoos, and I don't think I will. Would I have some of them done differently? Sure. I talked about it again in my last video. I have The Show Must Go On just in script right here. It was my first tattoo, and I kind of like, I don't regret it. I don't think I'll ever get it removed or anything. Like, actually, I know I'll never get it removed. I don't want to get it removed, but I would have it done differently now because I'm more partial to like image tattoos, like actual pictures, more so than just like words or script. So yeah, I don't regret anything, but I think that's the one that I would have done differently. The rest of them, I love how they are still, even 9 years after starting to get tattooed. Which tattoo is your most meaningful tattoo? So honestly, I would say this little lady right here. I have my cat tattooed on my shin, which is also really meaningful. But in terms of having like the most meaning packed behind it, I would say this little plant lady right here, which she was like also one of my cheapest ones and one of the ones that took the least amount of time. I named her Venus. I name all my like ladies on my arms because I feel like they deserve names. But yeah, Venus right here is probably one of my most meaningful tattoos because I got her in like November of last year, 2021, and between the tattoo that I had gotten previously and when I got her, I had gone through a lot, and I'd gone through a breakup, which then in turn led to me starting lifting and really just focusing on myself and finding out who I was as a person, which I had never really taken the time to do yet at that point. I had also been sexually assaulted, which I feel comfortable talking about on here now because everybody that I would like to know about it knows. So yeah, so that happened, and it was a very, honestly, kind of traumatic thing. It was a very traumatic thing for me to go through. It took me like a month to realize what had actually happened. And yeah, so that had happened too. And even through dating and stuff, I found out more and more about myself, and I saw this like flash sheet on an Instagram ad or something, and I was like, I want one of those. It just spoke to me for some reason. I see a lot of flash on Instagram, but for some reason this just spoke to me, and I feel like she's an amazing symbol of self-growth and self-love and all of it. And yeah, so A lot of meaning packed into this little itty bitty gal right here, but I love her. Which is your least meaningful tattoo? So I'd definitely say the Friday the 13th tattoo that I got on Friday the 13th in 2019. I had just never gotten a Friday the 13th tattoo before because I had never lived in an area where Friday the 13th tattoos were a thing. And so my first year in Denver, they were still very much happening because it was before the panini happened and everything. And yeah, so I went. It was $20, but it was a really fun experience too. Like, I waited in line for like 4 hours and to get like this tattoo that took like 15 minutes, and she was $20 cash, and that was it. But it was so fun, and I would 100% do it again. But unfortunately, because of the state of the world, Friday the 13th, traditional Friday the 13th days I think are kind of a thing of the past. So yeah. Which tattoo took the longest? So I think they kind of tied, to be honest, but the one on my thigh, the big one on my thigh, and my forearm one both took in the realm of like 6.5 to 7 hours. Have you ever tattooed over stretch marks? I have, and it hurt. I haven't, and I don't know if I ever will, willingly. Like, if we hit them like on my arm or something, then sure. But like, I don't think I'll ever get like my belly tattooed or anything, which is where the majority of my stretch marks are. But I have heard it's really painful. A part of your body you will not get tattooed. I think for sure my hands and my feet. And that's not because I don't want anything to be visible. It's just because I have seen that hand tattoos and foot tattoos fade actually over time. Foot tattoos, it's because you're constantly going in and out of your shoes, so like that friction kind of wears away at the skin. And then also my hands is because I have always been a person that hates having like even just something written on my hands, or like a stamp from a concert or a club or something. I hate it. Like, my hands feel dirty if I have those on it. And so I don't think I'd ever get anything on my hands or my feet. And also your hands. The tattoos on hands tend to fade as well, and you have to get them touched up more and more because you're always washing your hands. At least you should be, and that kind of stuff. So in terms of longevity, and just because I think having tattoos on my hands would drive me nuts, I would not get tattooed on my hands or my feet. But other than that, everything's pretty much up for grabs. How do people perceive or treat you differently now that you have larger visible tattoos? So I don't really think I've ever been like perceived differently, at least not to my knowledge, nor do I really care, because getting a tattoo for me is such a personal decision, and it's such a like personal experience, and like the meaning or reasoning behind your tattoos is really nobody's business unless you feel like talking about it. And so I know I definitely have like family members who don't agree with my tattoos and stuff like that, which is fine. I expected that. I do not care. But I would say I've been treated differently by strangers before in my life, in that people feel like they can touch you when you have tattoos. Like, they can like just touch you. And that's happened to me a few times, and it's very annoying. One distinct example of that happening was I was at an art fair at home, and I had gotten a henna, like right where this kind of was actually. I wasn't super tattooed at that point. I think I had only really gotten my first 3, so like the big one on my thigh was there, but then the rest of them were just kind of smaller. I was in line getting ice cream, and this woman commented on my henna tattoo saying that it was really pretty, and I said thanks, and I was like, it's henna, and she's like, oh, so it's temporary? And I said yeah, and she was like well, that's good, like just don't get any of those real ones. And I was like, well, I have a few of those too. And so she asked to see them, and I was like, okay. And I was like 19 at this point, so like the idea of personal boundaries was still something I was definitely learning about. But I showed her the one on my thigh, and this woman had the audacity to grab the like leg of my shorts that I was wearing and pull it up to look at my tattoo on my thigh. And I was so uncomfortable, but I did not know what to do in that moment, so I didn't really do anything. And I just let her like look at it and Google-ogle at it and ask me why I got it and whatever. And I moved on with my day because I was like, that was so uncomfortable. But that's not the first time, or that was the first time it happened, but it wasn't the last time things like that have happened. And people just feel the need that, or people just feel like they can touch you, and it's really annoying. But in terms of being treated differently or perceived differently, that's really the only example I can give, because I don't really care and I don't really notice otherwise. So yeah, hold on, my battery's about to die. I'm back. My battery was just about to die, so I switched it. Did you use any numbing cream for any? Yes, and I think I've only used numbing cream for one of them, if I can remember correctly. Actually, no, I think my tattoo artist at home, he used like numbing spray on me. But I specifically remember using it on this one. It was spray, it wasn't cream. I've never used numbing cream. And it's always been some stuff that like the artist has had. So like they provided it for me, which was super cool. Yeah, and honestly, I don't really think it helped too much. What I remember it helping with was like when we were taking breaks, they would spray me with it. And we'd let it sit for like 15-20 minutes, and it helped the initial like getting back into the tattoo. But after that, like everything hurt the same, but I would say it really helped the initial like getting back in after a break, which can be really painful. So it might be worth like looking into, but I don't remember them helping like too terribly much. But I also didn't experience it without it, so maybe they did. I don't know. But yes, I have used numbing spray, not numbing cream. And the numbing spray was always provided by the artist. When/what/where for the next tattoo? So I actually just scheduled my next tattoo, and I'm very excited about her because I've been wanting to get this tattoo forever. I'm getting a Nancy Drew tattoo. So I'm going to get a Nancy Drew tattoo. I think I'm going to get it like on the opposite side of like where my flapper is, definitely on this arm somewhere. And the same artist who did my little diva cupie named Marge is doing her, and I am so excited. I'm having her like holding a magnifying glass and like a book, because Nancy Drew, both the books and the games, were like a huge thing in my life growing up, especially as an only child. In the Nancy Drew games, sometimes the characters were like the only people I interacted with besides my parents on any given day. And so yeah, the Nancy Drew games and books hold such a special place in my heart, and Nancy Drew on her own holds such a special place in my heart. So I'm so excited to get my Nancy Drew tattoo, and I'm probably gonna vlog it because I haven't done a tattoo vlog in a while. Approximately how much did each one cost? Okay, so I'm gonna run through these, and I have the pictures up right here, so this is easy. I'll always be really transparent about cost. I don't care. It's just a thing with tattoos. Tattoos are expensive. Like that's just how it is. And I will always tell people never, usually, because I did get a bargain on a tattoo or on a couple tattoos. But I will always say, like, typically, if a tattoo price seems too good to be true, it probably is. But within, like, there's always a caveat, right? So my first tattoo, which is just the show must go on right here, my parents paid for this one. So I can't remember exactly. I think it was just shop minimum plus tip. So I think after it was like $100, because the shop minimum where I got it is like pretty low because it's a small town. And then my spoon tattoo, if I remember correctly, that was $150 before tip. And then my Hilda tattoo, which is the big one on my thigh, I want to say after tip, she cost me $800. Yeah. She was expensive because she's big. But yeah, but I don't know if I finished my thought. Never skimp on a tattoo unless you feel really comfortable paying that low price, because a tattoo is literally like if not the only things you will buy for yourself that you will literally have for the rest of your life. So like, pay the money for a tattoo. Your artist went through shit tons of training to know what they're doing, and you will thank yourself in the long run for paying good money for a tattoo. My Tudoros I got in London, and I think this was like 250 pounds. So at the time, let me do a conversion real quick, hold on. roughly $300, which is what I was going to guesstimate. So yeah. And in England, you actually don't have to tip, or in Europe in general, I think you don't tip your artists, which was a very foreign experience for me. But yeah, my Snoopy tattoo that I got with my mom, I honestly could not remember how much it cost because she paid for them. So I do not remember. Gizmo, the one on my shin, which is also very big, it took about 4 hours, and I want to say after everything he was like $650, $700 maybe. Yeah, also very expensive. Heart boobs, the one on my ankle, was a Friday the 13th tattoo, so she cost me $20 cash. So yeah. The tattoo I got from my grandma, I want to say that was like $175. My dad got it for me for Christmas because I got it when I went home for Christmas in 2019. So I honestly can't remember exactly, but I want to say it was like $175, around there. Maeve, my forearm tattoo, is kind of like my one exception to the like, if it seems too good to be true, it probably is kind of thing, because the artist who did her was looking to build up a portfolio post apprenticeship, which he was already like, I think a year out of his apprenticeship. He was offering like 4-hour sits for $250, and I was like, yes, because his work was amazing, and so based off like Instagram and stuff, and so I was like, okay, cool, I'm in. And so she wound up taking like 6.5, maybe even 7 hours, and bless his soul, he still charged me the $250, and I gave him, I think, $400, because I came with cash and enough for a tip. And I told him, I was like, sir, this is easily like a $600-700 tattoo. I was like, if I ever get tattooed by you again, I want you to charge me more. Like I said, from one creative to another, I know how hard it is to price yourself, but you need to charge more for your tattoos because this is a phenomenal piece of art and you need to charge more. So yeah, so that was an exception. But I think normally she would be about $600-700 worth of tattoo for sure. And these like aren't just Denver specific prices. Like these are what I'd expect to pay anywhere. The ones that I got in Denver, even the ones I got at home, were cheaper than I think they'd be here. But like I think tattoos depend, unless you're getting tattooed by like some insane like person, which even still, that's not always worth it. Usually tattoos are about the same cost anywhere from what I've seen. Anyways, Venus, she cost, because Addison was an apprentice, so she was still charging apprenticeship prices. I want to say she was like $75. She was very cheap, and I gave Addison way more than she asked for because I was like, you deserve to be paid more than this. But I get, believe me, I get the cheap apprenticeship prices because I basically did that for like my first couple of years of designing. So I get it. Anyways, and then Marge, I put $50 down for a deposit. I think after tip, she was like $350. Yeah, I think she was $350. I honestly can't, because you pay for tattoos in cash, so like I just take the cash out and give it to the artist and kind of forget about it. I save up for it very like intentionally until I go get it, but after the cash leaves the ATM, I'm just kind of like, well, that was what I was saving for, so we're just gonna forget about it now. Those are like the guesstimates of what I remember each of them costing. Definitely shop around for artists. Again, if a price seems too good to be true, like 9 times out of 10, it probably is. And also, if it seems ridiculously expensive for what it is, it probably is. So definitely just take your time shopping around for artists. That's like one of my biggest tips for anybody who's new to getting tattooed. Okay, so those were the Instagram questions. So I'm going to move on to the YouTube questions, which again, I think I got a lot. You guys like really wanted to know about tattoos, which is awesome. If you guys want more tattoo content, like, let me know. I don't really know what I would do, but I could talk about tattoos for like days. So let me know. Someone just asked, what's your favorite color? And definitely like pink is my favorite color, but like a warm pink, like a magenta. But I just like pink in general. So yeah. Are tattoos addictive? Yes, I think they are. But I also think it's possible just to be like, I don't feel like getting tattooed. Like, so I'm not going to, or I got one, I'm done. Like I know a lot of people like that. I do think tattoos have an addictive quality about them. Some say it's like the pain, and your body likes the endorphins and all that kind of stuff, which like there is a definite like rush after you're done getting a tattoo. But for me, it's just like I said, I feel like I'm becoming more of the person I'm like meant to be, and I feel more and more myself with each tattoo that I get, and so that's why I find them addictive. But I definitely think the experience in itself and whatever definitely has an addictive quality to it. Scientifically, do I think they're addictive? I have no idea. Did you get tattoos with looser skin? How did they work with your skin? Was it a problem for your artist? So I have, but I don't think it was really that big of an issue. I think skin's kind of skin. I would say maybe if it's like more like wrinkly, like loose skin can get, I could see that being an issue. But like I got Marge, and like there's a lot of like extra bits on the side here from like my weight loss and stuff, but it didn't cause a problem that I knew of. But yeah, I've never been tattooed like on loose skin before, so I definitely can't really speak to that. But I've come close to being tattooed on my loose skin, and it didn't seem to cause an issue. But I would definitely just work with your artist. Like tattoo artists are in like the body business, so like they know that bodies are weird, and I'm sure if you pick a great artist, they will be more than willing to like talk openly and honestly about like what you might experience or what to do in the case of being tattooed on loose skin. I feel like it would be really similar to being tattooed over like scars or stretch marks or something. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. And that's just my best guess. Are you planning on losing more weight in the future? And if you are going to lose more weight, does that affect which body parts that you choose to tattoo now? Like if you know you're going to develop more loose skin in an area, I'd imagine it would affect whether you'd get one tattooed there or not. Yes. So I'm definitely more on the weight loss train now than I think I have been in a while, just because I'm starting to feel like my regain and it's like not very comfortable. And so I definitely, but over the course of everything, I have told myself I've wanted an underboob, like a sternum tattoo, for a really long time. And I know that's really painful too, which is also kind of deterring me from getting one. But the biggest thing that's deterring me from getting one there is because I know I want a tummy tuck. Like, that is like next on my level of like big things to finance is a tummy tuck. And so I don't want to get anything on my abdominal area because I don't want it cut into. That's like the big thing that's keeping me from getting anything there right now. I definitely kind of planned my bigger tattoos when I was younger, pre-weight loss, with the idea of weight loss kind of always in the back of my mind. And so I always got them on places that were more muscly or like tighter and less fatty. So like I got my thigh tattoo on like the outside of my thigh instead of the inside of my thigh or the top of my thigh. I got my other really big tattoo that's on my legs on my shin because I knew my calves probably wouldn't change too much or have too much loose skin. And yeah, so, and like on my forearms and stuff. Before I decided that I didn't want to have loose skin removal on my arms, I would always just get tattooed on my forearms. And yeah, so that's like, I would recommend getting tattoos in like tighter, more muscly places instead of like fattier places, if that makes sense, if weight loss is on the horizon for you. How old were you when you got your first tattoo? I was 17. My parents signed off on my first tattoo when I was 17. Were there any tattoos you considered getting but decided against? I don't think I really ever decided against tattoo ideas that I had in the past. I think I kind of just forgot about them. And that's why I always recommend sitting on a tattoo idea if it's like a meaningful tattoo or something. I recommend sitting on a tattoo idea for at least a few months. I usually sit on like my bigger pieces for like a year. Sometimes I'll find like flash that I really like I did with Marge and that kind of stuff, but that's different because I'm a big proponent of like every tattoo doesn't have to have some like novel of a meaning behind it. But if it's one that like is going to take up a pretty good amount of skin space and like is something that's really meaningful to you, I definitely recommend sitting on it for like a few months to like maybe even a year, which I know sucks. It sucks having that be my process. I've definitely just kind of like forgotten about tattoo ideas, which to me means that they weren't as big of a deal to me at the time as I thought they were. I think if I would have wound up getting them, I don't think I would have regretted them, but I think the ones that I've wound up getting, I have wanted for a long time before I actually wound up getting them. So this is the last one, and it looks like it's just a combination of a bunch of questions, so let's get into it. This person says, I have a bunch of questions. I want to get tattoos and lose weight, about 65 pounds. If I get a tattoo before any significant weight loss, will it disfigure the tattoos? Is it better to just wait till I lose the weight first? So I'm going to do that one first. I kind of already touched on that. I don't think you should wait, but maybe just like really think about where you want it to go. And like I said, my biggest recommendation from experience is just getting it in a place that's more like muscly or just like tighter in terms of the skin, and less where like fat tends to deposit, because that will lessen the chances of disfigurement in the long run. And I honestly haven't had any disfigurement in mine. They've just gotten bigger, or like they look bigger, or they wrap more. That's my experience with that. But I definitely don't think you need to wait. How do I find the right tattoo artist? How do I pick the right spot for a tattoo? So that's, yeah, pick the right spot for a tattoo depending on your needs. Definitely kind of think about the future a little bit, whatever. I do think that like having tattoos in the workplace is becoming less and less of a stigmatized thing, which is great. I've gotten new jobs with very visible tattoos, but I am a creative person. I do work in the creative department of any corporate thing I work for, so yeah. But in terms of finding an artist, I love Instagram. I think Instagram is one of the best places to find tattoo artists. I do think TikTok can also be kind of fruitful, but there is a lot of shit on TikTok as well. But I've always found tattoo artists on Instagram because I feel like it is one of the places where they really share like their process and like even like their sketches and then what they turned out to be. And I think you can really find some great artists there. In terms of kind of narrowing it down like to your area, I just looked up when I was trying to find actually the tattoo artist in Denver kind of just came to me, but when I was trying to find a tattoo artist in London to get my tattoo in London, I kind of just Googled like London tattoo studios, and I would say first off, figure out what style you want your tattoo to be and like what the actual name for it is in the industry, because then you'll be able to narrow down your search. So like I like neo-traditional tattoos. Those are my jam. I find they last the best because they're rooted in traditional tattooing, which lasts very well. So I looked up neo-traditional tattoo artists in London, which was a vast search. But then I was able to find some studios and some people that looked promising from there. And I would look at the studio, I'd look at the artist, and then I'd go look them up on Instagram. And I would kind of just keep like a running note in my phone. And then I kind of narrowed it down to the person who I wanted to tattoo me. And that's how I would recommend finding anybody. If you don't know anybody who's tattooed around you, if you do have people who are tattooed around you and they have work that's similar to what you want to have done, ask them. And if their person like doesn't have availability or whatever, then go from there. But definitely for like a more concise list, I would recommend figuring out what the style of tattoo you want is called, then searching tattoo style artist in wherever you live, and then finding shops and artists and stuff and going to stalk them on Instagram to find out what you need from them, and then going from there. But definitely don't be afraid to like DM. Well, some artists are weird about DMs, but like if you have questions regarding pricing and stuff, I think one of the big issues in the tattoo industry right now is that artists need to be more transparent with their pricing. That is something that I have always thought needed to be a thing, and that's why I love the girl who did Marge, and that's why I'm going to keep going back to her, because she's super transparent about pricing and her work is amazing. I want her to slather me with her tattoos. But yeah, definitely like don't be afraid to reach out either. If they're a dick to you for reaching out, then you probably don't want to get tattooed by them anyway. But those are my tips for finding a tattoo artist. It can be really daunting, especially if you're in a really big area where there's a lot of tattoo artists. But yeah, those are my tips for that. Oh, she says, thank you for all you do on here. You feel just like a sister, but not a big sister because we're the same age. Thank you. That's like my ultimate goal on my channel, is to feel like a virtual big sister or like a virtual best friend. That's like my goal. So it warms my heart when anybody tells me that I'm doing it right. Anyways, that does it for this Q&A. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for dealing with this new setup. I just was tired and I didn't feel like setting everything up, so I was like, I'm just gonna do it at my desk. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any more questions, be sure to leave them down below, because I will be there, viewers will be there, we'll get your questions answered to the best of our abilities. And yeah, thank you so much again for watching. Be kind to yourself, be kind to others, drink your water, take your meds, and I will see you in the next one. Okay, bye.